Greetings from Harrisburg. I'm Andy Hoover, Legislative Director for the American Civil Liberties Union of Pennsylvania. We're here at the state capitol today because the legislature is back in session. They came back in on Monday. Today is Wednesday. It's their last day of session this week. They will be in next week as well, and the last week of April. So 3 total weeks of session for the month of April. There are a lot of issues right now that the ACLU of Pennsylvania is interested in that are floating up to the surface. There was a committee vote today on a bill that we opposed, Senate Bill 260, on HIV testing. There's also a vote today in committee on a bill that we oppose on requiring E-Verify for state contractors. That's Senate Bill 637. But the bill I really want to focus on with you today is House Bill 934. That legislation requires that all voters in Pennsylvania show a government-issued photo ID before they vote. If they don't have the ID, they are not allowed to vote. Now, don't be fooled. This is another in a long historic line of voter suppression tactics, going back to poll taxes and literacy tests. There's a coordinated effort going on all around the country to get states to implement voter ID laws. And the more cynical among us might think that the reason is because they want to suppress the vote, and there's good reason to believe that. If you look at data, it shows that 11% of U.S. citizens do not have government-issued ID. And when you look at who it is, you see it's disproportionately African Americans, people over the age of 65, people who earn less than $35,000 a year. There are other groups that we think would be affected as well, including people who are homeless, people with disabilities, and former inmates as they re-enter society. So we're talking about a lot of people who are potentially impacted by this piece of legislation. And just to give you an idea, the chairman, Representative Metcalf, who's the primary sponsor of the bill, said that 4% of Pennsylvanians of voting age do not have government-issued ID. Representative Samuelson at today's House State Government Committee meeting pointed out that that's 164,000 people who turned out for last year's election. 4% of last year's turnout would be 164,000 people. So we're talking about a large number of people who would be disenfranchised by this bill. Meanwhile, the supporters of the bill have failed to show that there's actually a problem with voter fraud. They've talked a little bit about voter registration fraud. That's a big difference between registration fraud and impersonation fraud. There is no evidence that impersonation fraud has occurred on a wide scale here in Pennsylvania. So that bill is going to get a committee vote soon. We expect it'll probably get a committee vote next week. It's House Bill 934. Ironically, just a couple days ago, Americans observed the 43rd anniversary of the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King. And we all know that Dr. King spent his life ensuring that people had the opportunity to vote. What we're seeing here today with House Bill 934 is another attempt to suppress the vote. So contact your state rep. You can find contact information on our website, aclupa.org. So that's it from the state capitol. Thanks again for checking out this legislative update. We're here at the Capitol because freedom can't protect itself.